episode right now because I screwed up, and that's what happens in life. So I'm here alone for the next 30 minutes. And I've actually had something I've been wanting to do a solo episode on that I haven't done because I didn't really know how to formulate my thoughts on it. But now that I have 30 free minutes, I'm going to talk about this topic in particular, which is body image, and specifically body image with young women. Now, I have a statistic I would like to start off here, which is that one study, according to the now.org, reports that at age 13, 53% of American girls are unhappy with their bodies. Now, I would like to really organically talk about my thoughts on body image, and in particular my body, because I think a lot of people look at my career and entrepreneurship, and most of the time you only see online like the highlight reel, and that's always been something for me I've wanted to combat with pretty much everything that I do, is to talk about the highs and the lows in all of this. And I have noticed that as I have become or experienced a bit more success in my career, that my body image has actually deterred. Now, there's a subscription for Stay Fearless or Die Trying, which I know a lot of you are members of, which is awesome. And there's a young woman actually who is one of the members in the group, and she wants to start something. And I've been helping her kind of with case studies and whatnot, trying to figure out what type of company or project to start that has to do with body image. And so, Lauren, this episode is inspired by you. But for me, I noticed dealing with a lot of body image insecurities around age 16. For me, I went from being really, really thin at a really young age and then having this growth spurt. And then from 16 to about 18, I went from being like 5'2" to 5'9", and you get boobs and hips and all of these things. And in the media, right, no one tells you how to deal with this. And I remember countless times my mom always being really hard on me with my body image, which is so weird because, I love my mom. She's awesome. But I will say that I've noticed a lot of parents in particular have this tendency to almost want to live vicariously through their kids. Now, you see it a lot more with trust fund parents, right? Like, you don't see it in the way that I'm from like middle of nowhere, very average upbringing. But I will say that's something I noticed that now hopefully I can talk to other parents and kids about, is the problem with parents that try and live vicariously through their kids is, number one, you're projecting onto them constantly, and they will always start rebelling against you, which is something I think I've always done. And then second of all, you're also not allowing them to feel like they're in a safe space to talk to you about their body image when you're making them feel like they should look and act a certain way because that's how you wanted to act. And so I will say that I noticed that started with my mom probably around like age 16. I remember there was definitely some incidents as my weight would fluctuate, just as like a lot of young women's bodies do, that I really ended up resenting my mom for it, just with comments that she would make. And looking back, I realized that I think a lot of the body image stuff that I faced has to do with what she would say about my body, and probably a way that was trying to make herself feel better or whatnot. But again, like anytime anyone is projecting anything onto you, it's going to hit the other person in a different way. So going back now to the control thing, because I also talk a lot about, anxiety and depression and all of that, and having struggled with that, I will say, and I don't know if anyone can relate, that the minute I feel like any element of my life is out of control, the only thing I feel like I can control is eating, what I'm eating, or what I'm working out and doing. And for me, I have found that there always has to be this constant balance between this fitness lifestyle and what you're eating, along with making sure that you're doing it in a healthy way. And it wasn't until probably like earlier this year that I realized that I needed to work on that, because the minute that anything's going wrong, the only thing I can start controlling is the eating. Now, I watched an interview the other day with, I think, Melissa Wood, and she was talking about Adderall, which I'm fascinated by because I know so many girls who take Adderall to not eat. I have also tried Adderall. I don't have ADD, so anytime I've taken Adderall has been from a friend or whatnot. And the only time I've ever taken it has been for that reason in particular, which I'm very consciously aware is super unhealthy. But the problem with, number one, Adderall, if you don't have ADD, is you're putting something into your body that is affecting you in ways it shouldn't. And number two, this whole Ozempic, Adderall to not eat is so fleeting and so unhealthy for this young generation to be looking up towards or want to be like. And I think a lot of people don't realize that in the entertainment industry in general, this kind of stuff has been around for forever. I mean, people have always been taking supplements or trying to do these different workouts and diets. And so since I've been in the entertainment industry for so long, I've seen so many come and go. But I will say that this trend with body image and with something like Ozempic and with something like Adderall to not eat is really fucking up kids. And so I'm really talking about this today because especially if you're a parent, which I know a lot of parents follow me, it is that we need to start this conversation around body image with kids, men and women at a very young age. Because if we don't, we're going to end up like where I am now, which is the minute something's out of whack, the food is the only thing I feel like I can control. And of course, like therapy and whatnot can help with that. But I really do look at a lot of the stuff that I experienced when I was younger and the conversations that didn't happen as precursors for what a lot of these control issues have become surrounding food. Now, in the media and in magazines and online, I'm telling you, and I worked at Disney, I was at Disney, everything, so much of what you see on the internet is so not real. And so much of what you see in particular about how women achieve their bodies and that image, even if they're like green juice and oat milk and almond milk and they're eating healthy and whatever, a lot of it is just not real. And it's frustrating to me having been in both worlds where I've built this company, but I've also been in the entertainment industry for so long where I've been able to see how people are able to really be chameleons with some of these types of topics. And so I urge you that whoever you follow, you really want to be following them for the right reasons, not because you're idolizing them because you wish you were them. And social media has like created that positioning for all of us. And there's many different TikTokers and influencers in particular who I've seen amass such tremendous success and followers and numbers. And why people are so inspired by them or admire them so much besides they're just pretty white girls, to me is really unhealthy. So I would say if you're somebody who's on social media and you're looking to feel inspired by someone, you shouldn't be following this person because they look or act a certain way that you want to be like, because you will never be them. And I really, really say that I think a lot of this starts from when kids are very young and the way that we're brought up and taught about how to be confident. You can't buy confidence. I can't really teach you how to be confident. Whenever someone asks me, how am I so confident? I always say, like, I'm confident because I have been up, I have been down, I have tried everything, I have gone to therapy, everything in between, right? I have tried so many different career paths to get me to where I am now. And that's what has made me become confident. So when I tell people, cold email 5 people a day, pick up the phone, call someone, introduce yourself, you are becoming more confident because you are allowing yourself to be rejected. And as uncomfortable as rejection is, it is the only way to become confident. And I will say now, having entered my late 20s, I realize there is such a night and day difference between my early 20s and my late 20s because I am, number one, now so okay with being rejected. Like if it happens, life-wise, business-wise, dating-wise, I don't care because I always know something better comes from it. But could I have said this to you 5 years ago or 10 years ago when I was living in New York and nothing was working out? Absolutely not, because I hadn't really experienced enough to get to a point where I realized that everything that you really go through, any insecurity, any lack of confidence is really there to teach you a lesson. I interviewed, before I'm sitting here talking, the founder of Bluestone Lane, and I was talking to him, Nick Stone, off camera just about entrepreneurship. And he was telling me some really fucked up stuff that was happening in his life. And I was saying about, a few business things that were going on in mine that you don't see on social media. Most people can't talk about this stuff on social media. And I said to him, I have to think that if you become more successful, it gets easier. And he just point blank said to me, it doesn't. And as of an hour and a half ago, that really resonated with me because people think the more money you get, the more successful you become, that everything just starts working out. And for me to even hear him say something like, it doesn't necessarily get easier. It just becomes, you become a bit more accustomed to things going wrong. And I know a lot of you who follow this podcast or anyone who I've interviewed or even my journey are obsessed with entrepreneurship, obsessed with getting out of a small town or doing something different with your life. And I think to really achieve that kind of success, you have to be comfortable falling down and getting back up. And I think that's what sets entrepreneurs apart from people who are not entrepreneurs or shouldn't be entrepreneurs, is because this lifestyle is so unique and so different, and you have to be okay with things going wrong. And of course, if you're working for someone else too, that's something you should probably get used to. But it hits a lot different when you're an entrepreneur. And why I started this off with the body image conversation and then to bring it back to obviously how this is relative to entrepreneurship is because the more confident you can become, which has to deal with not feeling like you need to idolize someone online, not feeling like you need to control everything that goes into your body that you eat to look a certain way because that'll make you look better. It all makes you a better business person. And so for me, it's always just really been something I've had to actively work on, is the control thing with food and talking to other young women and seeing the struggles that they have, because that to me reminds me that there is just a process to confident and becoming confident. And I will say that like even the most successful people that I know, and predominantly women founders or people that you guys might idolize who are women, no one every single day can stand in front of the mirror and love every part of who they are. I just don't think that's possible. And feel free if you're watching this or listening to this to debate me on this. And maybe that's just because I've never really experienced that. But I genuinely think that because of society and because of the media, it's become a lot harder to be confident in who you are because we have so many outside voices and noises saying things to us. And that's why I find that statistic. 53% of young women don't like their bodies. I mean, the fact that I can even say I had these body image issues starting when I was 16, before TikTok was even a thing. I mean, if you're 16 right now, or you have a kid who's 16, now that TikTok is a thing, now that you can become famous for doing nothing, how do you even know where to begin? I don't even know. I really actually don't even know where I would tell someone right now who wants to pursue entrepreneurship where to begin. And the only thing I would probably say is you need to just try different things. And the way that you do that is what do you like, right? People definitely overthink what they could be doing or how to get out of a job they hate. Everyone likes something. And if you don't like anything, then I certainly can't help you because everyone likes something. If you like candy, right? I haven't had a Jolly Rancher. I was just saying to the engineer over here, I haven't had a Jolly Rancher in so long, right? But if I loved candy and I was 18 or 19, I would be finding every small business candy company in my town, wherever that is, and reaching out to them, asking for an internship, asking if I could help them with social media, whatever it would be. Maybe you really like cleaning. My friend was staying with me earlier this week and he was like, I washed half your dishes because I was having a lot of stress in work. And that's what I do when I'm stressed out is I clean. I was like, okay, so if he didn't have a job, I would say maybe you should pursue something in that. It's the smallest thing that really can get you out of your comfort zone, make you more confident, but you never know what'll come of that. But to really figure out what you want to do, you have to try things. So I think anything you're thinking about doing, anything that piques your interest, pick up a phone, call someone, introduce yourself, ask if there's an opportunity for you at whatever company that may be, and then go from there. I wish that people overthought things way less because it should be way more simple. That was quite a sentence I just said. But as someone who is a chronic overthinker, I have realized now the minute I'm overthinking something, if you're not going to be thinking about this in a year from now, even a day from now, you have to teach your brain to turn it off. And it's the same with the body image stuff, is if I'm only doing the best I can, right? In any element of my life, my personal life, body image, my family life, you're only doing the best you can. And so you cannot control anything that anyone does. And so if you're someone who finds that whenever you feel a little out of whack, you perhaps start controlling what you're eating or your body image, then you certainly should really realize that the outside stuff and everything that is giving you anxiety you eating less or working out more is not going to make you feel any better. That control really comes from that inner dialogue you have to have with yourself. Number one, realizing that everyone is kind of crazy and everything sometimes is really dumb. And I think when people can realize that faster, I tell a lot of aspiring or current entrepreneurs who I coach that everything can be really dumb and people can be really dumb. And I say that because a lot of times people don't realize that everyone, especially in business, right? You never know what someone who you just got off a phone call with dealt with an hour before or what they're dealing with. So if somebody goes off on you, if someone does something and it makes you feel really triggered or makes you feel really crazy for a second, you have to remind yourself and ground yourself. And the way to do that is not to restrict or to eat less or work out. It's perhaps to go and work out. It's perhaps to make a really healthy meal. But you cannot control everything else that are these outside noises that are going to make you feel insecure or less confident. Because especially on social media, the more that you scroll, the more that you really follow and idolize someone where it becomes an obsession where you want to be them, is that's when you start becoming jealous. And you probably don't even realize that you're becoming jealous of this person. But it's because you're idolizing 1 second of their life that you think you can relate to online. And that's just not reality. So if you're someone like me who really has struggled with body image or feels like your family, your siblings, your parents, your mom doesn't really talk to you about it, I would certainly bring it up in some form of a conversation. And if they don't receive it in a proper way, like I remember many times I would kind of freak out on my mom growing up when she would say things, is then you need to either find some type of outside counsel. I've done a partnership with BetterHelp, so you guys can use, there's a promo code in a lot of other episodes. I'll also put it in the show notes. You guys could use that. It's free therapy, or even just talking to someone who you feel really safe around to kind of help you navigate those waters. Because sometimes in life, you expect someone to act a certain way or say a certain thing, especially family, especially friends. And unfortunately, people will disappoint you. So you have to really find the confidence and happiness in yourself to create the kind of life that you want so that you can give that to the people around you so that you don't ever feel like you're not creating those conversations with people in the way that perhaps people didn't create those conversations with you. So this was just a short little episode on body image and in particular confidence. I will say again that I really genuinely think the best way to become confident in yourself is to go head first, like dive in like never before to anything that interests you. Call people every single day, email new people every single day, constantly introduce yourself. I did a talk a week ago now at the University of Michigan, and there was a young woman in the audience who was really asking questions about how to not feel bad when you're rejected, or she's too scared to cold call people. Once you start doing it and you get rejected, you start realizing that it really doesn't matter. And once you start getting more yeses, and when I say the Disney yes that I got took me 10 years of just kind of floundering around trying to figure out what I wanted to do. 10 years, right? If I had given up in that 10-year period, I would never have gotten that. And that is my reminder to you that you really can't stop just because someone rejects you. But the more that you can allow yourself, honestly, to be rejected, perhaps the better you'll start to feel, because once those yeses start to come, and the bigger the yes, the better it feels, because you'll remember that the rejection you experienced is not that bad, but you have to keep going until you get that yes. I have to go.